Good day everyone. In today's video, we're going to be going on Fishing Cove Trail. Now this is a 12-kilometer trail. It's rated moderate to hard. The good news is we're not going to do this all today. In fact, we're going to be spending the night in the park's only remote campsite right here. So, we're calling for a little bit of rain tonight, so we're packing some stuff in our waterproof bags, and we're going to head down and see what this campsite is going to be like.
Akani and I were both excited for this hike for so many reasons. As I packed my bag from Fay Active, I thought about all the things we would need and what we could leave behind. With one of the longest and hardest trails in the park ahead of us, the goal was to take as little as possible. Not an easy feat when you not only have to take camping gear, but your camera gear as well. But rising to the challenge, we fit everything we needed and began to make our descent. The path started off easy and well maintained. It looked promising. We began making our way down the hill. The trail here is steep enough that it involved switchbacks. We appreciated the easy downhill start, but the reality of having to climb back up the next day began to set in fast. It was the 1st of October, and the weather was nice. We had been experiencing unseasonably warm weather, something I'll never complain about, which made for a welcome addition to the fantastic views. Most of the trail is shaded, so a bit of extra heat kept us comfortable. We had been on a handful of other trails within the first week of our trip in Highlands National Park. Up until this point, only one other trail had a difficult rating, so we were surprisingly excited to test our endurance on a trail like this. The trail skirts along the side of a mountain, creating some great views, but also poses the problem. You see, we often place our gear on the ground to get a shot of us hiking. In this particular case, Akani had placed her sleeping bag down, and it ended up being slightly too close to the edge of said mountain. Tumbling down the side of the mountain, Akane was quickly without a bed. Although she didn't find it quite as funny as I did at the time, she turned me down as I offered to go and get it, in determination to get it herself. The hill was steep, very steep. But deep down, she channeled her inner mountain goat and made quick progress getting down and then back up the mountain, allowing us to continue towards our night's accommodation with everything we started with. As we got deeper into the forest, we finally took a break, removed our backpacks, and rested up for the remainder of the journey.
So we're about 4 kilometers in to our 6-kilometer hike, and despite being downhill practically the entire time, I can tell you with a backpack full of stuff, it's definitely a workout. Now, this takes me back to about 2-3 years ago. Connie and I went with some friends and we did a different backpacking trip in a different national park called Ketchimakujik. And we went to a backwoods cabin and we hauled everything on our backpacks. And then we didn't have anything that allowed it to be easier. Everything we had was designed for car camping. Luckily, this time, it's a little bit better. With the help of FE Active, we have things like a small tent. We have portable sleeping pads. We have lightweight sleeping bags. And it's just making the trip that much better, as I can't even imagine what it would be like hauling everything that is just normal camping gear, that's heavy camping gear, because I'm 4 kilometers in and I am toast at this point.
As we pushed onward, we dropped lower and lower until we reached the bottom of the mountain. Here, the sun had a harder time getting in, and the trail was noticeably darker. This may sound like a bad thing, but after hours of hiking with a heavy backpack, the cooler temperatures were actually quite welcomed. Despite a lack of mountain views from this vantage point, We did have access to a beautiful natural river that flowed along the base of the mountain. This river will lead you to the campground, a place where the fresh water merges with the salt, leading to the Atlantic Ocean. With this change in scenery, a change in path conditions also occurred. Up until this point, the trail had been pretty well maintained and easy to walk on. Like any wooded trail, you would encounter a tree root here and there, but nothing that made anything too difficult. This section, however, had us going at a snail's pace as we traversed the rocks, trying to avoid a twisted ankle. I wouldn't want to be stuck here, in a position where if this happened at the end of the trail, it would be a long, painful hike up, and perhaps an even longer wait until someone else came across the path. The final push to the campsite is where you leave the forested area, with the tall, dark trees above, to a more open space, where the trees are not much taller than you. You'll immediately get the sense of the wind is bad here, as stunted growth almost always indicates harsh weather conditions. You'll notice as you walk the mowed path that there are many places to set up camp. Some are nestled between the trees, creating a barrier on all sides. And then there's others, like where we stayed, with uninterrupted views of the ocean and mountainside.
There we go. How's that for a camp spot? Yeah, not too bad, huh?
The view from our spot was awesome. We set up our tent from Fay Active and got ready for the evening. Reflecting back, it would have been hard to know whether we chose the right spot or not. The views were to die for, but as you'll discover, the wind was intense. Part of us would have been happy having the trees to shelter us, but part of us was glad we had these views at all times. If you're planning a trip to this campground, take a moment to look at the weather for the night. Don't limit yourself to simply looking at whether it's going to rain or not, but look at the wind forecast as well. We didn't know, so we didn't do it. We hope this tip will help give you a better night's sleep. But before we called it a night, we spent some time along the shore, taking in the scenery. The views here were worth the long, difficult hike in. We sat next to our tent and watched the sun set. Waking up the next day, we were treated with outstanding mountain views, something we didn't notice on our way in. We're early birds on most of our trips, and with a long hike out to the car, today was no exception. We packed up our gear, admired the views one last time, and headed out. On the way back, we realized that we were low on water, but remembered the river that flowed along the way, and we took advantage of this.
Well, we're on day number 2. So last night we set up camp and had a really great night, except for the wind that was with us all day yesterday. Really took a turn for the worse overnight. It just pounded the tent like crazy. The sides were bending in. We had a little bit of a rough sleep, at least for the first, 6 hours of the night. But by 4 o'clock it finally died down. We were able to get a few hours of sleep, and so today we're going to go back to civilization. We're going to get some showers, we're going to restock on some water, but until then we're going to visit this beautiful little stream here behind us, and we're going to refill our water for free.
Our trip to Fishing Cove was one we'll never forget. As people who don't backwoods camp often, we, once again, learned some lessons about what to bring and what to leave behind. We took note that taking breaks frequently was important, and reflected on the life lesson that good things don't always come easy. Why not join us on other trails within Highlands National Park by subscribing to our channel? We have a ton of amazing upcoming hikes, and then we're always on to the next destination to showcase a world filled with beauty, history, and life. To learn more about this and other trails, please visit joshuatravelguide.ca for our written travel guides.